Hi. So for my project, I was coaching my boyfriend Rocky on how to create a website. He plays volleyball and he wanted to be able to create a website to give out to coaches to potentially get recruited next year. And he had never used any of the Adobe Suite programs before. So this is what I was coaching him to do. So first we sat down and made sure that we came up with what our goals were going to be. And overall, the first goal was to just learn how to create this website and get something running that was to the point where by the end of the year, after he was revising it, he could put it up this summer in order to get recruited. And so we established realistic and specific goals with deadlines. So our first goal was to be able, by the end of this month-long project, to have a solid base website. So each week we broke it up into 4 different goals to accomplish by the Sunday of that week. So the first week we wanted to make sure that he really just could navigate the program. So we went into Muse and he just played around with it. I taught him where different functions were, how to use things like widgets, to see how to set backgrounds for things so he could just figure out the basis of the program and get a feeling for it. And by the second week, we wanted to have the bones of the website. So he went and just organized how the page layout was going to be, labeling what the different pages would be named, so home, welcome, stats, contact, etc. And it was like an outline for the website is what the second goal was. And then by the third week, our third goal was to be able to set things like a color scheme to it, a basic pattern outlook, what the header was going to look like, what the footer would look like, font selections. So that was more the CSS, which is the style of the website, is what the third week goal was by that Sunday. And then by the fourth week, he wanted to lay out the content per page on the actual website. So each page would have where the picture would be inserted, where the text would be, etc. So we had an overall website layout by the fourth week. And we decided to meet every Saturday and Sunday over these 4 weeks, and that was kind of our action plan on figuring out what to accomplish, when, and how. For influence tactics that were used, I really wanted to be a great role model and use charisma around him and show him the websites that I was currently working on and get him excited about what he was doing through him seeing how excited I was about when I create a website, how much fun I have and how great it is and what a great skill it is. And that was something that definitely rubbed off on him. He was pretty excited to be able to learn how to use these types of programs, and it's something that he said he thinks he wants to continue using throughout the next year and seeing if he can improve his skill. So we also made sure to keep on monitoring his performance, to keep tabs on how far he was getting in the process, how it was going. And so each week before we would start working on it, we would go over what we did the week before, visually look at the program, see what it looked like, and see how far he had gotten. And then we would talk about where he was going to go at the end of that weekend session. And then at the end of each program, we would just kind of look through what he did and kind of go over everything that he had accomplished. And then I tried to give a lot of frequent and specific feedback. So whenever he would put something specific in, I would say things like, I really like that choice that you made, or that's really aesthetically pleasing. I think that color goes really well with your school's team, and so that ties that in. So I definitely just tried to keep on giving him feedback, especially positive feedbacks, things that affirmed him. And then whenever I would give him feedback, sometimes I would make sure to ask him how that feedback was being received. And so I would say things like, is what I'm telling you making sense? When he would ask a question, or say, is the way I'm explaining this beneficial to you? Is there different language that I should be using when I talk to you, etc. So that was definitely very helpful as well, because there were some times when I would say different jargon that wasn't necessarily something he was comfortable with when I was explaining something, and by asking him for his feedback, he could say, oh, Ashley, when you use this word widget, I don't really know what you're talking about. Could you use more simple language. So that was a great thing that helped us pass a barrier. And so it was very important that when I was giving him feedback that I remembered to have empathy and think about how I felt when I was learning the programs. There were definitely things that I was not familiar with, and it was very confusing and hard to understand and just put something in my mind to a visual screen. So I tried to keep that in mind and have empathy for him while I was teaching him the process of what we were doing. And this took a lot of active listening, so making sure that I let him speak and ask as many questions as he wanted to, and keeping body language that was very open to what he was saying, that made him feel invited to talk and ask these questions and acknowledge what he was saying. And then also, this wouldn't work if we didn't have trust within each other, so it was definitely great that I was able to convey to him that I wasn't just investing in him because I have a project, but also because I care about him as a person, and I value our relationship, so I wanted to help him in any way that I can to accomplish this goal. And then I also showed him my credibility through my previous work on my websites, and that helped him understand that I really knew what I was talking about in my development through this program, etc. Okay, so thank you. That's the end of my project, and I can attach a few images if you would like to see what his website ended up looking like.